Hello everyone, Ben Rad here, aka The Mysteries Of. Welcome to part 5 of this tutorial series. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create a nice, dark and quite an epic rising pad sound. I'm going to be using Native Instruments Massive. I recognise that in some of my videos I should probably show you or play the sound before I actually show you how I make it, just to kind of keep you guys interested and know what you're actually going to be creating. It kind of goes against what this tutorial series is all about, because I've been trying to make this kind of all on the fly really, and just see, well, demonstrate exactly how the production process works for me. But in this case, because of the complexity of the sound that I've created, I wanted to actually give you a real run through and show you what you will be creating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you the pad sound that I've created, and I'm going to put it into context with the song as well. So this is a sound that I've actually created. Now the reason I've created this sound is because what I want to do is I want to take the original strings that I've put underneath our main loop, and I want to create an intro out of this, but I can't create that with just the strings on their own because there's not enough body, there's not enough atmosphere, there's not enough anything going on. So I just want to give you an example as to what they sound like together. So just for everyone's benefit, I'm going to play you the strings on their own. As I said, those are just samples, which I've kind of resampled and cut up. Now with the pad underneath. You'll notice that gives it a lot more body, and it's filling out the sound a lot more. So I can actually use this and the way that it modulates to really build up the song to the main drop. So let's take that away, and let's show you how I've made this sound. So first of all, I'm going to open up a new instance of Massive, and I'm going to do this step by step. I've essentially created this this patch already, but I've muted and deselected everything. So what I'll do is I'll basically show you how I started this. So what I started with was the square to saw 2 wave, and I put that down one single octave. So it should sound like. Alright, what I've done is I've added quite a high attack, which is pretty standard for pads. I've left the level or the sustain of the sustain all the way up to the top, and then quite a high release. So that'll help, this release will actually help maintain sound whilst this attack is coming in for the next note. You'll notice it just sounds like one single note. Now the first thing I always do if I'm going to create a nice thick sound is I always go to the voicing tabs, and I put the voices up to 6. I'm using polyphonic here as well because I'm doing chords. So I'll play it with just one single voice. Pretty dull and empty, right? So we throw that up to 6, and you can throw it up as many as 16. That sounds a bit messy. We don't want to overdo it. So 6. Sounds alright to me, but you'll notice it hasn't got that movement that the sound I played you has, and that's all down to the cutoff filters that I put on. So what I've done is with this Oscillator 1, I've got it working only through filter 1, which is indicated by this knob right here. So I could have it filter 2, filter 1. So this is filter 1 right here. Let's turn this on. And what I've done is I've actually modulated this cutoff based on LFO 5. And I'll show you what LFO 5 is. So the way that the sound is progressing is it's essentially just a rising sound, which is releasing the cutoff and giving more high frequencies as the sound progresses, and that's over the course of 1 bar, hence the 1-to-1 ratio here. So for every 1 bar, this is raising up. But you'll notice here that actually the cutoff or the LFO is actually going downwards. So the way that I've managed to make this sound rise instead of cut off, which is what this line indicates, is I've actually just reversed the way that the sound is going to modulate. So what I've done here is this green bit here, this is essentially the first part of the LFO, the first sequence, or the first time it comes in, and you'll know, and this is actually reversing. So If I was to do it normally, I have it the green going upwards, which this is going to reduce the cutoff. So here, yeah. But instead, what I'm doing is I'm reversing that. So this is going from all the way down here and then rising back up again. In reverse to that. See? Clever, huh? I've also added a bit of resonance as well in a similar fashion. So this is going to be adding the tiniest bit of resonance as the cutoff is released. Now it's still sounding pretty stale and not a lot of movement. So what I've done is I've even modulated the wavetable. So what it's going to be doing is it's going to be going from this side of the wavetable all the way to the left. So it's going from a sawtooth to a square. So see that? You'll notice there's a lot of movement there. The sound is changing. But it's not feeling like it's got a lot of body to it. So I'm adding a second oscillator. In this case, I'm actually going to use the Groan 3. Not a clue what that is or what it does. And I'm pretty much mimicking exactly what the first oscillator is doing. So it's running just from filter 1, and the cutoff is changing the wave from right to left. I don't know what this wave actually is or does, but hey ho. Now you can hear this. A lot more body to it. The problem with this, however, is it hasn't got, well, you'll notice it cuts off very, very quickly, which is kind of deliberate, but it's not going to sound too tremendous on its own. So what I've done is I've actually added a third oscillator underneath everything, and I'll just play this as it is. And you'll notice this is actually running off of cutoff 2. So for this oscillator, I'm using the Gentle Speech, and I've gone through quite a few of these, and that just seemed like the right one. And you'll notice it's just a single sound just running as it is. But I have got it running through filter 2. So let's turn on filter 2 and I'll show you what I've done here. So I've done some modulation to this particular cutoff filter, which in this case I'm using the Scream filter. And that is, if I'm honest, I don't really know what it does. It just uses a lot of interesting aspects of resonance. So the resonance is key here. So what I've done is I've got this modulated to cutoff, envelope 1. Crazy, huh? So by doing this, the actual cutoff and the resonance is going to be modulated based on this, which is a bit crazy here. So we'll start from the beginning. So we've got quite a high attack, so the modulation is going, so the cutoff is going to open up quite slowly based on the long attack. I've got quite a small decay, so the sound or the cutoff will actually drop off very, very quickly, and to quite a low level as well, so about half. And what I'm also doing here is that you'll notice I'm actually adding a loop. So what I've done is I've got this loop here, which you can go from off or up to infinite. And what this does is this takes one length of the sound based on the note that you're playing, and it adds modulation based on these all sorts of different kind of LFOs. And it's essentially one LFO morphing into a second LFO. And if I play around with the peaks, if I put the two peaks of this side and this side the same, see the notes, the levels the same, then there's not much going on. But if I raise this, oh, we've got some LFO modulation. And so then we've got some release as well. So what this is doing, well, you'll hear. So you'll notice it was woo, 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 woo. And the reason I did that, why not? I think it sounds pretty good. So let's hear this in the mix, or sorry, all of the oscillators together. Now I find that there's still something missing. What I like to do, I think that even with 3 oscillators it's still sounding a little bit dry, I add some modulation. In this case it's to the first oscillator, which is our kind of saw/square wave. So I put the phase modulation and I modulate it, well, a pitch, the same pitch of the actual oscillator, which is always quite key. And again, I've done this based on our LFO 5, so the modulation will come in as the LFO rises. So you'll hear this now. It should get more intense. So we can hear that just oscillator 1. So let's without, with. Nice, like that. Final thing in terms of any kind of sound and oscillators, I've added a bit of white noise just to kind of add to that. You'll notice the kind of the wobbles in the background are sounding pretty firm now. I like that. So last thing, I believe, is the effects. So I've pretty much used every single tab here. First effect I'm putting on is a classic tube, which is a distortion. I've put the dry wet pretty low. I don't want to add too much, and the drive just a little less than the default. Let's see it without. With. Just gives it a little bit of extra bite. And here's the key one here. I'm adding some reverb. This is going to really just fill the whole thing out. Pretty intense for pad sounds. So for this, it's a standard reverb, not the small reverb, but the standard reverb. Density just a little less than center. The color is quite high. Color essentially is the frequency of the reverb. Size of the reverb is going to be very large reverb because it's a pad sound, so you want it to be very, very full and long. But I'm not adding too much, so let's hear it with the reverb. Without. With. Okay. Final touch in massive is adding some equalization. So I'm lowering the volume of the low shelf, so I'm essentially reducing the bass. I'm going to add some of the low mids, and I'm going to reduce some of the highs as well, just to kind of stop it from grating too much. Lovely. Okay, final aspect of this sound. As with pretty much everything, I have played around with equalization. So let's take off these and analyze it. You'll notice there's a lot of sub there, so as with everything, got a bit of cutoff there just to reduce any unwanted low subs, and I've given it a little bit of a peak just here in sort of higher treble frequencies to liven up a little bit. Cool. All right. So let's hear that with the drums, and I'm going to show you what I've done to give it a bit more movement when it's in the mix as well. So we'll just throw solo on the kick and the snare. So, it all sounds good in my opinion, but I want even more movement, and to be honest, that's going to fill out the mix a lot when there's everything else playing. So I'm going to add some sidechain compression. If you don't know what sidechain compression is, you need to watch my other tutorial video. It goes into enough depth and essentially describes pretty much exactly what I'm doing here. But just to give everyone a very basic understanding of what this is doing, the sidechain compression, this is going to have the sound duck down every time the kick of the snare comes in, which is on bus 1. Now I'm actually leaving the release quite long so that it doesn't, the sound doesn't come in straight away after it's been ducked down. Let's hear that. Cool. The only last thing I might do is I want to spread the sound out a little bit and give it a bit more stereo width. And really easy technique to do that with any sound, as long as you don't want them to be, you know, a sound with lots of oomph. So it's really, really good for sounds that are going to be atmospheric. Is you go to the delay and go to sample delay. Really simple tab up here. This is the simplest thing in the world. So listen to it without me touching it. Okay. Now what you do is you move one of these bad boys. So essentially I'm delaying the right pan by, oh, who knows, 169, see if that works. Notice how that's spread out in the headphones a lot more. Without. With. Okay, that's been my tutorial for the day. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you like it or subscribe, whatever you want, I don't really know. If you've got any comments, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye.